Hello there, and welcome to this week's edition of PackTalk, where we review what's happening in the packaging industry. My name is Paul Davis, and I'm here today with the editor of Packaging News, Wakas Qureshi. Hello, Wakas. How are you?
Hi, Paul. I'm fine. You do realise we sit together on the table, usually?
We do.
We're not strangers.
No, I appreciate that, but this gives us our moment on a one-to-one basis, so
Okay.
appreciate that. Okay, let's crack on. What I want to kick off with first, I've been looking at the pages of Packaging News in the last few weeks and just summarise some of the stories that you've been writing about. The one that I want to kick off to start with is government legislation. And I see that the government has launched UK Deposit Management Organisation. This is the administrator that covers, I believe, the DR Deposit Return Scheme.
Yeah, the DRS.
Yeah. So I just wondered if you can just bring the audience up to date with what's going on with that.
The UK DMO is a business-led, not-for-profit organisation which will be responsible for designing and operating the deposit return scheme when it finally rolls out in 2027. There are a number of retailers and brands that are involved in this. And, you know, I said in my editorial piece, this could actually make a great DRS. We've been waiting for years and years, if not decades really, for a new... I know we had a DRS way back where milk bottles... people might remember there were milk bottles that you could give back
I'm old enough
shop.
to remember.
Right. You would give milk bottles back to shops, is that right? And you would get money back, is that right?
Yeah.
So
lemonade bottles.
Right, there you go. So arguably we've been waiting for decades for something like this in a more structured and more high-tech way to be rolled out. So it could make a really, really good DRS. And like I said, there's brands and retailers involved in managing this scheme. In fact, we met one of them, Julian Hunt from Coca-Cola Europe Pacific Partners at a conference recently, didn't we?
Yeah, it was the soft drinks conference.
You had a question for him, didn't you?
I did. I what it is regarding DRS, I think it's a great initiative, and I do remember back in the 70s, that's how old I am, it was widely used then, and it worked particularly well. But the thing I'm most interested in how it works with the domestic bin collections, because at the moment we would buy our products from the supermarket and then put it in our bins. It gets collected every 2 weeks and I don't have to think about it. DRS, obviously there's a money back offer, which is great. But it's probably the convenience factor, because obviously you have to bag all that up and take it back to the supermarket or whatever. I just wonder how you think, or they think, it's going to affect the local bin collections that are processed via the local authorities.
Yeah, and I think one of your questions to Julian was, well, we're paying a certain amount for council tax, etc.
Yeah.
Is that going to be reduced?
Well, you think it should be, wouldn't you? I mean, if they're not processing as much packaging, do you think there would be an allowance, or you should think there would be an allowance on the council tax?
I'd be shocked if they cut your council tax bill anytime soon.
I tell you what we should do. What we could do is, because the summit's coming up, the Environmental Packaging Summit. Yeah. If we can get I believe there's some representatives, hopefully, that will be there. That could be a potential audience question.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be one of my answers to you in this video is we will have DEFRA and Pack UK there. So these kind of questions we can definitely ask. Okay. And hopefully the audience can definitely ask DEFRA and Pack UK.
Yeah, I think it's a legitimate question. It'd just be interesting to see how it works out.
I mean, just to add, with the DRS, it's going to be arguably a social change as well, and a financial change, because we're going to have to pay 10 or 20, probably 20p more for each bottle and each can we buy.
Sure.
Although we'll get the money back, not everyone will be able to as easily afford to pay that extra 20p on each bottle. So it's going to be quite interesting how much of an opposition there might be when it's rolled out.
Because the thing is, I mean, especially with the cost of living, then what you're essentially asking consumers is to pay more for the products, but obviously get the money back by returning the package at the end of the cycle.
Yeah.
Which I understand. There is a model already in existence, which is the Irish model. I remember seeing that presentation at that event that
And
we attended.
and apparently it's going really well.
It's going well, and
We
all
were
the
at a
take up
conference,
rate.
yeah,
I think he's up to. I think he said 77, 78%.
Something like that. He said, yes.
It's
So
quite high.
there's potential. Let's.
Okay.
We've been waiting decades. Let's see how that goes.
All right. Okay. I want to move on to the next question, and this relates to Amazon targeting a packaging reduction with an automation drive. This is very, very interesting. I think it's a big story. I just wondered whether you can bring us up to date with what's going on there.
Yeah, this is a really interesting story. There's 18 new machines across the UK. I think 70 odd across Europe. And what Amazon are saying is basically these machines have set. So you've got a product that your customer has ordered that they want to buy, be it a bottle of deodorant or a TV or whatever.
Yeah.
And with these machines, they have sensors that will map out the size of the product and instantly create a box roughly to the right size and not overpack. So they're saying that it's created more jobs, etc., but it's also cutting packaging and packaging waste. So it's going to be really interesting if it works, how it works, and if other brands and retailers follow suit.
I'm guessing this is probably linked to their AI drive. I mean, that's pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. But I would say arguably, you know, over the years you've had so many consumers go onto social media saying that I've bought an item this small and my box has come from Amazon and others this big. Over packaging and packaging rage, I think it is.
Yeah.
So it appears to be something that Amazon are addressing, and it's a win in so many different ways for them.
I think it's a great idea. I've been shopping with Amazon for a number of years. Certainly, my partner has, and the amount of packages that come through that. You know, they're just oversized.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why they didn't think of this earlier. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of investment, but then it's a huge. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. So maybe they could have done it earlier.
Are they rolling this out globally, or is it just UK at the moment?
As far as I know, it's Europe at the moment.
Oh,
it's
okay.
UK and Europe. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next question. This one is of particular interest. Tetra Pak invests in the material recycling facilities. This is where Tetra Pak is involved actually with the recycler, which I find a very interesting story. I mean, can you bring us up to date with that?
Yeah, I think there is a win for Tetra Pak in this on a separate level as well, in that this investment involves new robotic arms for sorting, which will, in theory, probably in practice as well, catch more of their cartons and recycle more of their cartons.
Yeah.
And the more they recycle, the more they'll get back as recycled, and they can say we're using more recycled material.
Right.
And it's easier for them to use more recycled material the more they catch back.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it is really it's a really good story, like you said, that they're actually investing in. It's called J&B Recycling in Hartlepool. So I'm not entirely sure how many other brands invest in a recycling facility in a MRF, materials recycling facility. And they've said that they're going to actually, Tetra Pak have said they're going to announce 2 more as well in the UK. So I don't know if this is a new trend necessarily, but certainly it's a good look for them, and it's a win for them that you know, potentially they'll be getting more recycled cartons back.
Yeah, I think what particularly strikes me as interesting with this story is obviously their link to the recycling facility.
Yeah.
They are packaging converters, they're creating packs, and they're closer ties with the end life of these materials. I think is a good thing, and I'd be honest with you, I'd love to see a lot more of that in the industry.
Yeah.
Is it just them, or is there any other organisations involved? Or
In our next Pack Talk,
yeah,
we'll answer this because I'm going to do a little bit of research on
Yeah.
that. I don't want to say there's none, and I don't want to say there's 10. I'm not entirely sure.
okay, no problem.
Yeah.
This was an article that you wrote about the Princes Group, and they're announcing a partnership with the manufacturer of Capri Sun's lightweight recyclable pouches. That is an interesting alliance. I mean, when I think of Princes Group, I think of tin salmon, tin fish. I didn't realise they were into drinks, but perhaps you can enlighten us.
I think that's a partnership where they're doing the bottling or the pouching, shall we say. It's a big investment. It's a £15 million partnership with Capri Sun.
Yeah.
And it involves making sure that those pouches have tethered caps, so the caps are attached. And that's mostly coming from EU legislation, which eventually there's going to be a requirement that every bottle, every drinks container has an attached cap, a tethered cap, which will boost recycling rates. Because I think, when we take the cap off our bottles, we don't realize as a country or as any country in Europe or around the world how many of those caps just get thrown away and end up in landfill when they could have been recycled. So I think it's a great bit of legislation from the EU. I'm pretty sure we're going to follow suit in the UK, and it's fantastic. I think it's a really good story.
But most of the bottles that I come into contact with are tethered. I mean, are you saying that in the UK it's not currently legislation?
No, and it's not. They're not all tethered. A lot of them are, like you said, most, but a lot of them aren't still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
And I think if we have the same conversation a year, maybe even two, but maybe a year, we'll be able to say actually almost every bottle we ever buy is now tethered.
Yeah.
So I think it's great legislation.
That's brilliant. Okay.
And by the way, Capri Sun, that particular product,
Ah,
they are shortlisted at the
They are,
Environmental Packaging Awards.
under the drinks category for
That's right.
the Environmental Packaging Awards. You're absolutely right.
Which is taking place on the
It's this product, isn't it?
It is this product.
Yeah.
24th of June at the Oval.
Yeah. Buy your ticket.
Buy your tickets, guys.
Okay, right. On to the next
I think you've got two contentious questions coming up, isn't it?
Well, these two next questions are kind of linked.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So it's an interesting one. I'll start off with PepsiCo. They seem to be under fire for revising their plastic recycling targets. What is this all about?
Well, on the face of it, you could say it's shocking. They're revising their target 2% year-on-year reduction by 2030. So they're previously that target was a 20% reduction. I cannot explain this. I can give you the quote: by prioritizing efforts in key packaging markets, continue work to reduce its use of virgin plastic and improve the design of its packaging, PepsiCo plans to focus on investments that aim to improve the packaging life cycle. But dropping from a commitment of reducing from 20% down to 2%, it doesn't really sound...
What was those figures again? How much?
20% down to 2%. Greenpeace said we need a strong and binding global plastic treaty that caps plastic production and ends single-use plastic.
I've got a little theory on this because I was interested with this particular article, so I did a bit more research. And obviously PepsiCo is a global company supplying lots of different nations. Not all nations use recycled PET in their food and drink processing and manufacturing. Countries like China, for example, don't use it at all, apparently. And India have only just started to use recycled PET for their bottles. So my view, and I might be wrong, is that PepsiCo has probably taken a global view at this and said, well, we're going to have to adjust the targeting because not all nations use recycled materials, which is a shame. But I don't know if that...
I think you make a valid point.
Yeah.
But not all markets are, shall we say, matured the way others are.
No.
So in some areas, Asia, Far East, etc., might be ahead of Europe, and in other areas, Europe might be ahead. So this is one of those cases, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
The other thing that I noticed about this article is that they've mentioned or focused more on packaging design to improve reuse and recycling rates. Are you seeing a lot of this coming through in the articles that you're writing in terms of the design of the package is being used to help people recycle those materials?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, historically, the design has had two main facets. A, does it look great?
Yeah.
And B, usability.
Yeah.
Is it easy to open? Is it easy to use?
Okay.
But certainly the maybe last 10 years, sustainability and how can they recycle it, how can we encourage recycling, has always improved, shall we say, or increased. And I think that leads on to your Coca-Cola question, because they went a bit overboard with what they can and can't.
I've read the article, and Coca-Cola, their biggest rival, are amending recycling claims after greenwashing challenge. Who challenged them?
It was made by the activist group Client Earth and the European Consumer Organisation BEUC, and it was actually a while ago, November 2023. So it's been going through the courts,
right?
And Coca-Cola have basically said that they'll tone down some of their claims, but they're saying this does not amount to an admission of guilt. That's lawyer talk for you, but fine. I think you asked me earlier on in the day, didn't you? Is this?
Well, I wanted to find out your view, your personal view. Does this tantamount to greenwashing, or is it a simple oversight from the manufacturer, Coca-Cola? Because sometimes I know marketing can be a bit.
I mean, my view is I'm never going to say any brand knowingly greenwashes. Maybe they do. How do I know that? Yeah, nobody knows that for sure. So. What I will also say is, I don't think there is ever a simple oversight in this world. Not in this game. No.
Okay.
So they must have known that maybe they're exaggerating, or they must have known that people will object eventually.
Right.
And it's been going through the courts since late 2023, and I'm glad with the outcome, because they've just toned down their message a little bit to make it a little bit more realistic of what's actually happening in the market.
It's quite clear on the packaging now that it's not 100%.
Yeah, because they had it on the tethered caps.
That's right.
I've been recycled, or recycle me, etc. Recycle me is okay, but I made from this and I made from that might not always be the exact. There might not be factual on each single bottle or each single can or bottle. In this case.
I understand. Yeah. Okay, all right. Well. That's an interesting couple of articles there from those two manufacturers of drinks. On to the next one. Circular economy specialists, Reconomy, described the latest set of residual waste data from DEFRA as mixed bag, and warned that the 2027 targets are out of reach. That's a big statement from Reconomy.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about this?
I mean, to be fair, Reconomy and the likes are the experts in this field.
Yeah.
They said there's a 15.3 drop in landfill waste, which is a step in the right direction. But they said it's a mixed bag because the 2027 targets are increasingly looking out of reach. I would say this is a classic question that needs to be answered, a typical question that needs to be answered by DEFRA and PAC UK, who will be at our conference in a few weeks.
I think that does need to be addressed, because the thing is, there's a couple of things there that they've said that waste to landfill dropped 15%, so that's better recycling rates. Then they go on to say incineration rose by 15% in the same period.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that is a bit of a contradiction there, or whether it's down to, is it more volume being going through? But I think there's some clarification that needs to be done.
Yeah,
and that's a question we could ask.
We should ask, or maybe the audience can ask the guys from PAC UK and DEFRA. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Let's move on to the next question. And this is your, I would say, your major report on the interview with the founder of Global Brands, Steve Perez.
Yep, yep.
Can you tell us a little bit more what you covered there? I think he made some interesting points about EPR.
Yeah, he's particularly concerned that the EPR policy will. He has two concerns about the price inflation, and that eventually businesses won't be able to absorb those additional costs with all these EPR changes, and and it will be felt across the supply chain. And he firmly believes that it will eventually go down to the consumer, and products, certainly drinks products, will increase in price for the consumer.
Right.
And he's warning about this way in advance. He's not the only one, but
Yeah.
he was quite firm about this, to be honest.
He supplies a lot of products in glass, doesn't
Yeah.
he?
So
There's
these are the makers of Reef and WKD, etc.
Yeah, okay. Did he, I think he made a point about his concerns about the, glass being used as a material for packaging.
Yeah, he
with
says.
EPR.
Yeah, he says the levy takes a hybrid weight and volume based approach, and he insists, as does British Glass, as do so many other brands and other packaging converters that deal with glass.
Yeah.
This means that the cost of glass is going to be much greater than other materials, simply due to its weight.
Okay.
And they think it's an unfair playing field there. On the flip side, producers of drinks in plastic bottles are actually exempt from certain parts of the EPR,
Yeah.
because they are awaiting the rollout of the deposit return scheme. So that's one of his biggest gripes as well in this.
I went to a presentation recently with, I think it was Britvic, Britvic Carlsberg now.
Yeah, yep.
And I did ask their sustainability chap about the fact that glass is outside of EPR, and would this influence their decisions on materials going forward? Because
You mean plastics out of EPR?
Sorry, plastics out of EPR. Yeah,
and plastics for the DRS.
Yeah, I mean, I in fairness to him, I know all this legislation is coming through at the moment, so we didn't get a definitive answer, but it must have some impact, you would have thought, with EPR and glass. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I honestly think that the glass industry makes valid points on this. The problem, and I know a lot of the DEFRA and PAC UK people personally as well, and Margaret, etc.
Sure.
The problem is, whatever they do, no one's going to be satisfied.
You're going to keep everybody happy, are you?
Yeah, they're never going to keep anybody happy. But I think this is a really big deal.
Yeah.
Because
I see
they're basing it on volume and weight, and glass is always going to lose out. And on top of that, there's so many exemptions for plastic because they're waiting 2027 rollout of DRS. This is another thing that we're going to... In fact, there's some sessions on this.
It is unfortunate because glass is... there's so many great sustainable messages for glass.
Yeah.
However, it takes a lot of energy to produce glass.
Well, yeah, the flip side is it takes a lot of energy to produce glass, and it's heavier. Your carbon footprint transporting is an issue as well.
Of course.
And then, again, going back to the other side, are these EPR changes going to encourage brands to switch from glass partially or fully to plastic? Mm-hmm. And is that a good thing? We're gonna need more plastic.
Yeah.
The same thing that, David Attenborough has been harping on about for 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's so many elements to talk about in this. And we've got a few sessions at our conference in a few weeks which are going to address a lot of this.
Yeah. One thing I did pick up on the report that you did with Steve Perez, which I thought was quite nice, was that his claim that all of his packaging is recycled PET.
And he insists
which
he's
is a
done
big
this.
claim.
Yeah, and he insists he did this years ago.
Yeah.
So, and they're a far smaller player than, say, the Pepsi and the Cokes of this world. But it's really good to see these medium-sized companies initiate
He's
and
an early
roll out.
adopter.
Yeah, early adopters.
Yeah. That's good.
I mean,
Okay.
we've been talking about mentioning our events. So why don't I ask you a few questions about some of the events we have got coming up.
Sure.
We've got Environmental Packaging Live, which
We have.
is Environmental Packaging Summit, which is the conference, packed agenda, and we got the awards in the evening. So this is the 24th and the 25th of June at the Oval.
Yeah, that's right. So 24th, 25th of June, Kia Oval in London. So we're running the Environmental Packaging Live event. There's two main components of this event. The summit, which is a 2-day program that looks at a number of different areas, and the awards, which happens on the first night of the event. If I could draw on the summit, there's a number of topics that we'll be looking at. Obviously, EPR, which will be kind of the backbone of the program
for both days.
Yeah, for both days. We're looking at packaging data because that's becoming a lot more important in terms of looking at the EPR.
Measuring
cycle.
EPR, you need that data.
Exactly. I think we've just recently got the Welsh government to come along and do a talk on their recycling update.
Andy Rees, yes, Andy Rees, and people.
He's a recent addition, isn't he?
Yes, and people must know that Wales is the number 2 ranking for recycling as a country.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. I mean, obviously, it's a smaller country. There's some smaller population, but it's still doing great things.
They also fall outside of this new DRS scheme.
So far, yes. They're refusing to be part of it. They want to do their own thing.
I know we're digressing a little bit. What is all of that about? Are they not happy with what?
I think there's elements of the proposed scheme that they're not happy about. I think even the fact that glass is not in that scheme, there's issues. There's issues.
Right.
But I think, they probably think they have the expertise. They're doing such a wonderful job.
Yeah.
So, but I've spoken to DEFRA. There is a lot of effort to make sure when it does roll out in 2027, Wales is part of it. For the moment, they're not.
All right.
But anyway, Andy will be there, Andy Rees, and he will present on how they got to where they got to as number 2 in the world, as far as a nation recycling. And then I'm going to grab him for a fireside chat, so I'll ask him a few more questions.
He will be a wonderful case study.
Yeah,
I mean, looking forward to DRS and what they've actually done on their recycling side. I know it's been a bit of a huge success story. So it would be great to actually see him actually on stage. Some of the other areas that we are covering at EPS will be materials review.
Yeah,
we've got a number of industry leaders talking about trends in materials. This one's particularly interesting, influencing consumer behaviour. I know we've got a slot on that discussing how consumers are now being influenced in terms of their choice of material of products at supermarkets and so on. Packaging design and sustainability. We'll touch on the RAM update, which I know we covered in the last PackTalk, and general future trends. The speakers, just to name a few, obviously we're going to have DEFRA there. Pack UK.
DEFRA will open the
They
conference.
will open, yes. It's Margaret Bates, isn't it?
Margaret Bates will open the conference.
Yeah. Welsh Government you touched on. Mondelez will be there, Diageo, Biffa, Bunzl, Twinings. There's many, many more. But what I'm basically saying that the event, you're going to have a good, rich mix of retailers, brands, packaging converters, distributors on that panel sessions. So it's going to be interesting.
And day 2, actually, we're just going to be announcing it. Karen Grayley, ex-M&S, will be, who's now Producer Responsibility Organisation. She's heading that.
Yeah.
And she's going to be opening day 2, which is fantastic news.
Yeah. On the awards, there's 2 categories. We have packaging projects and we have business performance. So in total, there's probably about close to 50 entries across those 2 areas.
Yeah, they're growing awards. They're in their 3rd year, so it's looking good. We just want to grow every year on them. We've got brands and retailers involved, as well as packaging companies.
Well, just to name a few people, because I was looking at the list earlier on, people like Mondi, Ocado, we mentioned earlier, Capri Sun, Weller, Mondelez, Caveris, Evios, Raja. I mean, there's a lot of high-profile companies entering the awards this year, which is great.
Yeah. And our inaugural Women in Packaging Awards. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that
It looks really, really successful so far.
The events team have done this a fantastic job. I
Yeah.
mean, it's great. It's an inaugural event.
Yeah.
It's running on the 10th of July
Yeah.
at the Hilton Bankside in London.
Yeah.
The deadline for entries now is closed.
Yeah.
So,
We've got too many entries we can't deal with anymore.
well, we got over 300 entries for this
Yeah.
awards, which is incredible for a first
time.
year.
Yeah.
So there's 29 categories.
Yeah.
We have also 24 judges from across the industry judging all these entries.
Yeah, we'll be seeing them this week.
Yeah, we will. That's
Yeah.
right.
We're judging this week.
So these people are Asda, Ocado,
Yeah.
M&S you mentioned, Biffa, Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
lots of good people from different sectors of the market. Retailers that get involved, Aldi, Waitrose, Nando's, Kingfisher,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people attending. So it should be a good awards event.
And plenty of tables sold, although there's plenty more to sell.
Yeah. Now, this is the interesting thing about it. I mean, there's a lot of tables already sold. The anticipation for a first year event, 500 plus people
Yeah.
for that evening.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I think we're near to 300 odd now?
Over 300.
Yeah, and we've got a few weeks we've got a month to
Oh,
go.
yeah.
I think we'll get close to 500.
It'd be a good party night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good night for celebration.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention also the UK Packaging Awards.
Yes.
It's running
Our 25th year.
25th year, so
25th edition.
yeah. So it's running on the 8th of October at the Park Lane Hilton, which is a new venue.
Yeah.
The categories, there's two categories. There's quality and performance, with about 30 individual awards across those two categories.
Yeah.
The deadline for entries will be the 11th of June, so it's coming up shortly. The judging day will be the 2nd of July, and again we have a mix of judges judging the UK Packaging Awards. And these are good people like Biffa, Waitrose, Tata Steel, Ocado, Asda. So it's all going well for the UK Packaging Awards, and we're on track again to have a good event. We normally have around about 700 people attend that particular event. So yes, it's going to be a good schedule of events, a lot to look forward to. So that's it for another week of PackTalk. Thank you, Wackus, for bringing us up to date what's going on. And thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.